My rule of thumb is for people is always with optics, go as high end as you can. Spend as much as your budget will allow. This has been my advice to people for many, many years. If your budget is 150 euros, spend every cent of it. If your budget is 1,500 euros for a pair of binoculars, spend it. You won't regret it. I've never met anybody that's bumped into me years later and said, Jesus, you know what? I bought a really expensive pair of binoculars like a Zeiss Swarovski, whatever, or a spotting scope. And it was the greatest waste of money ever. I never got anything out of it. Everybody I've ever spoken to who has invested heavily in optics says it was one of the best investments of their lives. And that's really important because, I'm buying a new laptop this week, or the Irish Whale and Dolphin Group is buying me a new laptop this week, and it's state of the art. It's got a Ryzen CPU, it's got this much RAM, it's got a great hard drive, it's all the rest. In 5 years' time, it's going to be a piece of crap. Yeah. The viruses will come in, the application software just won't work, the processor, the battery life will all go pear-shaped. But at the moment, optics are completely different. Optics actually almost improve with age. In fact, the spotting scope that I bought about 20 years ago, it's as good today as it was the day I bought it. And in fact, if I was to buy that same spotting scope today, it would actually be more expensive. So while technology and gadgets depreciate, optics appreciate in value. So look after your binoculars. Buy as high end as you can. For whale watching, for serious whale watching, folks, you really need the benefit of a scope on a steady tripod. Yeah. Because a lot of the time, it's not so much that the animals are on the surface for a brief period of time. Generally, bigger animals are further out to sea, and you can have the best pair of binoculars in the world. You can have a 1,000, 2,000, even a $2,500 pair of the latest Swarovskis. And if those animals are 15, 20 kilometers offshore, you're really not going to see them. So you're going to be missing out on a lot of the big picture. So the advice is always to buy as high end as the budget will allow. Also, when you walk into an optics shop or a camera shop, as a wildlife watcher, Tommy, I know you're a hunter, so obviously you know a bit about optics. And if you get a sales rep who starts talking to you about magnification, these are so powerful, look at these, they're really, really powerful, walk out of the shop. He doesn't know. He or she don't know what they're talking about. They've never actually used these binoculars in the field. It's not about magnification. In fact, most of the really expensive binoculars tend to have much lighter magnification, but the reason they cost thousands of euros is because of their build quality. It's because of the size of the object lens on them. It's because they're made of glass, not plastic. They're filled with all sorts of gases inside them that mean you don't get build-up of condensation and the like. And the problem is I can go out and buy for $49.99 in one of the big retailers a rubbish pair of binoculars. In a year's time, I'm going to be buying another pair of rubbish binoculars for $49.99 because I'll have thrown them in the bin, because the first time I use them in poor weather and they get wet, they're going to be useless. They're going to get damp inside, the mold will build up, the condensation will always be a feature. And in 10 years' time, I'll have actually, by the time I've bought 10 pairs of binoculars, you know what, you'd have had really good wildlife viewing if you'd gone out and spent, 500 euros on a half decent pair of binoculars, and look at all the fun you'd have had in the process. Yes. So don't go cheap. You get what you pay for with optics. So wait, if you can't afford them, wait for a maiden aunt to die or that inheritance to come true, and invest in a decent pair of binoculars or a good scope. Mm-hmm. It just changes everything.